Hi chess friends, this is King's Executor covering round 5 of the Tata Steel Tournament 2013 at Wijk, and this has been the most decisive round yet, because we have only 2 draws in this group A of the Super Grandmasters, and all other games were decisive and had no draws. So Anand drawed against Carlsen. This has been a Petrov defense by Carlsen, and he played very accurately, and the game was drawish from the beginning. Sergei Karyakin drawed with Anish Giri, and all other games were decisive. And this is such a game, and I think the most interesting game to present to you from this round. So this is the game of the day, which is my choice: Pentala Harikrishna against Loek van Wely. And Harikrishna opened with e4, and we get into a type of Sicilian here, and this is not the Najdorf. Najdorf there would have pawns the other way around here on e7 and d6, and this way here. So this is the Khan at this point. Bishop e2, knight f6, knight c3, d6, keeping it flexible with the development of this bishop. Maybe we see pawn to b5 soon with bishop b7. So this is flexible by black, playing d6, and white castled. Loek van Wely prepared to castle, and Harikrishna hampered down the black queenside advance. Knight to c6, bishop e3. And now you see the point of the modest developing square e2 for the bishop. There is no knight harassing this important bishop here. Castles and f4. This is the attempt to really control the center, or at least gain space. And you'll never know, there could be e5 if prepared, and if the knight has to move back, like this way for example, then we would have the possibility maybe of a kingside play, like g4 and f5, or having played e5, maybe bishop f3, lining down towards the queen side and pressurize black there. So it's not clear yet which way to go. White prepares the kingside pawn storm by playing the king to the edge. Rook to e8, maybe indirectly planning to play e5 if well prepared. Bishop came to f3, and Loek van Wely played bishop to d7. So the rooks are connected, and now white doesn't want to give black the opportunity to exchange pieces in the center and relieve his rather cramped position by reposition his knight, or get it out of the center. Now this is really the most passive located light piece in white's camp, and that should be taken. There should be something in mind for white here to reposition this knight later on. Now b6. Okay, b6 maybe intending to play d5 at the right moment, and b6 takes away the c5 square and prepares maybe d5. So there's no knight hopping into c5, attacking this bishop. And this is just flexible, really controlling all the squares at the fifth rank. g4 now, so white is clearly trying to go for the kill. And now the repositioning of the bishop because of the move g4. This diagonal is weakened, and if the bishop gets here, this bishop can be exchanged. When f5 is played, pawns are exchanged, maybe with g6, and if pawns are exchanged, this light pieces can be exchanged. So this is the plan here, to reposition. And now g5, kicking the knight to d7, bishop g2, and now we see bishop b7. And this bishop was pulled back just to give the rook room to lift itself over to the h-file. Bishop f8, preparing g6 actually, after rook h3, g6, and queen e1 really flexible, eyeing the king side, the h-file in particular. Bishop g7, just giving the knight room to defend h7, which is played. And after having forced this knight back, the queen has no job at the moment, so it moves back, attacking the pawn twice, which is defended with knight to d7. So this is, I guess, the last book move. Rook f1, logical continuation to push f5. And now, well, how to proceed? Black is solid and has even time for occupying the c-file. And if f5 now, g takes, e takes, and now not e takes, because that would be a really bad decision. Queen takes f5, and you see these pawns are really weak. But in this position, there can be even more. So rather than taking on f5, knight to e5, centralizing the knight, unleashing this bishop, pinning it to the king. f6, and if check, the king takes, so the queen still can eye the h-file. Check, king h1, bishop h8, queen h4, and knight to f6. This could have been the line when black occupies the center and waits for white to attack, and now you see there's no clear continuation to white's attack. Black is solid. Okay, this bishop is kinda having only one job of preventing mate, so that makes white's position maybe a little bit more active. But black has central pawns as well, and the c file to work with, so it's not that clear. So in this position, rook a to c8 would have been possible, probably. Loek van Wely went knight to b4. And this allows bishop to d4. Maybe Van Wely was relying on the move e5, but this doesn't work in this position. In fact, it's really bad. Here in this position you see f7 is attacked, and if black would recapture this way, then we have check on f7, king moves to h8, and the queen can take this second pawn because the pawn here is pinned to the king. So the knight would have to take to cover f7, and now you can choose if you want to take this pawn or play even more dangerously or even stronger, maybe with queen to h4. And if king f8 to flee, queen can take, and again after taking this defender of the g pawn, this pawn is pinned to the king, and the queen can take this g pawn. So e5 doesn't work in this position here. So there's nothing better for black to exchange one of the most important pieces of his position, and now you see these dark squares are really weak now. Moreover, black pulls the least active white piece into the center, so this is the best exchange you can get on the board. Knight to c6 to exchange even further to ease black's defensive course, and if f5, which was the game continuation, knight c to e5, centralizing the knight to defend the king side, and after capturing and recapturing, drunken arrow, the bishops can be exchanged, and black can get active counterplay on the c file. So queen h4, and well, I guess Van Wely could have tried knight to f8, and if f6, which would look scary because of the threatened mate here, h5 could have been played, and if takes here, well, the king can block and use this pawn as a shield. This pawn is a shield as well. And how to proceed? If knight c to e2, heading to f4, and maybe even to sacrifice here, well, black has time to really cover the back ranks, and there's no clear proceeding for white here. So knight f8 could have been tried, but in this position Van Wely played h5 without the knight on f8. And again, Harikrishna could have taken en passant, and if king h8, this is necessary to get out of any sacrificial ideas of takes. So king h8 wouldn't allow that. Well, it's not so clear how white could have proceeded. Queen to d8 even could try to exchange queens here, and if queen gets out of the way, knight to f6, heading to h5, forking these pieces. So it's not that clear how white could proceed after taking en passant in this position here. So Harikrishna went for another route here with knight d2 e2, and now Van Wely took here. Well, what else? I think this knight is heading to sacrifice itself here, and black wants to exchange the pawns and open up the game to be able to defend comfortably, but it's not that easy. After knight to f4, the sacrifice is clearly prepared. Well, and this pawn, it can be taken, but it looks really dangerous. Let's look at this variation. If now knight h5 and queen takes, the king has this only way to get out, check, and well, how to proceed. If g6 here, rook e6 is the only move, but the saving grace, check, and now g7 is the best move, and afterwards you would have moves like this, and even the sacrificed exchange doesn't really work for white. And now you see we have the same material, and well, it's not clear in this position, but it looked dangerous, of course, from this position on. You have only moves left if you take on e4 as black. So Van Wely chose this idea of king to g7, preparing to get the rook into the game, so the sacrifice doesn't work now. If takes, and queen takes, rook to h8 is winning, is good. Let's look at this. Takes. Well, this even looks bad here. Queen cannot get here, and if queen to d1 takes, and black is left a piece up. So sorry, after king king g5, king g7, white had to centralize and get more pieces into the attack, which was exchanged. The knight recaptured, queen takes the pawn which was attacked, and now opening up the game. Knight to f4, rook h8, and Harikrishna opened black's position even further. Knight to e6 check, and king g8. Now this looks uncomfortable. This rook together with this knight, so black seems to get into a mating net here, and this is pointed again onto with bishop to d5. Well, this reminds me of my video Atomical Dart Arrow, having the black pieces and activating this bishop onto this sensitive diagonal against the king. Now this position is already lost. Queen to d2 and queen e4. the rook pins the rook, and white defends actively. And now, well, what is threatened? The threat is, let's give white a move here. If b5, queen g6, this is a sacrifice. Check, blocking the queen out of capturing the bishop, very good, and checking the king. King g7, rook f7 check, king g8, and rook e7 is mate. So this is a nice queen sacrifice idea here. And white answered this threat with king h7. But this allowed rook check, knight takes, and now queen takes check. Van Wely Van Wely didn't take the queen, he resigned in this position. It's really a picturesque position. If black took this, then bishop e4 is check. You see the pawn is protected. This square is covered. The pawn covers these squares. This is just beautiful. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this very nice attacking game by white. Pentala Harikrishna now has 3 points out of 5. The leaders are Magnus Carlsen, Vishy Anand, and Sergei Karyakin with 3.5 points out of 5. And well, if the tournament proceeds this decisively, I guess we have no favorite to win the tournament. So I hope you liked the video, and let's continue with the next round. See you, and thanks for watching. Please subscribe, please comment, and thumbs up for the video if you liked it. And King's Executor says, I'll be back.